If you think you're tired of the rain that we had yesterday, and it seemed to keep falling all day long, imagine how the folks in the township of Minden Hills are feeling this morning. They've been dealing with record high flooding, and as of this morning, still under a state of emergency. The water has forced residents, like my next guest, to evacuate their homes and their businesses. Kirsten Monk is a longtime resident of Minden Hills. She and her husband own a funeral home there, and she joins us on the line now. Kirsten, good morning.
Good morning, Matt.
No rain, but you guys woke up to some snow this morning?
Yes, actually, it started snowing last night, and as I look out my window, there's snow on rooftops.
And that's a big sigh, I could imagine, that you exhaled when you saw that this morning.
Well, yes and no. Any kind of moisture right now is something I don't want to see for quite a long time.
Tell us about the impact that flooding has had in Minden Hills.
Well, it's devastated our town, Matt. There are about 100 people that have had to evacuate their homes, and many businesses have had to be evacuated. Many businesses have had to close due to having to sandbag their properties to try and save them because we are still in a state of emergency, and we do not know when this flooding will end, as the lakes are still flowing they're still thawing out, and they're still overflowing, and they're still letting logs out of the dams.
How long have you lived there?
38 years. My family purchased the funeral home in 1975, and then my husband and I purchased it from my parents in 1998, and I've been working with the funeral home for almost 30 years.
And so as the water continued to rise, what was that like to watch the home that you've been in, the area that you've been in for 38 years, essentially become underwater?
At first it was disbelief, and I thought this couldn't happen. And then as it started to sink in that we had to take action and clear out our funeral home and relocate because we had services booked that we had committed to and we wanted to carry through for the families that we made this commitment to and that we serve in our community. I went from shock to complete, I felt like my life was gone.
It sounds really emotional.
It is. It's been a really emotional. I've gone from, I'm an expert in the grieving process, and I have been grieving terribly the last almost a week now, from losing my business to work out of. I'm still operating as a business. I'm working out of my mother's home, and through the kindness of the churches and the people in my community, my belongings are scattered all over this community right now.
Were you able to get much out of the funeral home before the water got too high?
Yes. On Friday night, we decided to evacuate our vehicles because the garage was filling up and our preparation room was filling up, and we had to go into action and try and get everybody secured that we had at the funeral home. And then Saturday it seemed to get a little bit better, and then Saturday night it started to rise more, and so Sunday morning at 5 o'clock we made the decision to evacuate because we actually aren't able to bury in the wintertime, and we had people at the funeral home, so we had to get them to safety. So our staff came in and helped us with that, and then people within the community, friends, family members of our staff, all came in and offered us their garages and evacuated all of our furnishings, our caskets, our records, because we're responsible for records for families for years back. I mean, our funeral home was established in the late 1800s.
What does that mean to you that people stepped up like that? I mean, it's an awful situation, and you're trying to scramble to keep your business alive and moving, but also to deal with people who are in a very difficult moment and dealing with grief themselves. So the fact that people stepped up and helped you out, what does that mean to you?
I feel I'm so blessed to be a member of this community. I mean, I don't have actual family, blood family, but I have a community that is a family. And they care just as much. And as I walked away after we evacuated my house, I looked at them all, thanking them, and unfortunately crying my eyes out, and they were crying with me.
Is insurance going to cover the damages that have unfolded because of this flood?
My business will be insured. I was lucky due to a technicality. If it was considered a flood, no, but because We've had problems for many years with sewer backup. We've had taken steps to, this time of year, we always had a little bit of flooding, so we took steps years ago to ensure that that would not affect the building. Of course, this is way beyond, but my home, no. There's no insurance. There's no flooding insurance for all of the people in this community. The insurance companies have tried to help out, but unfortunately, they don't have that clause, and a lot of people didn't know that in their insurance policy. We all thought we were protected.
What a difficult situation. I wish you the best, and I appreciate you telling us your story.
Well, I really appreciate it too, Matt. I appreciate the opportunity to be heard, and hopefully the government will hear us and help us out, because there hasn't been a minister that has actually come to Minden Hills yet. They have been to Bracebridge and offered support, but I've been watching the news and no one has come here to offer us support. I have been speaking with my local MPP, Laurie Scott, who's diligently working to try and help us out. And the news I got on Tuesday from her was the province said that they would help us if we could fundraise. Well, we don't have much left, and I don't know how this town's going to fundraise.